Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, it's Robin Robbins. Welcome to a special bonus edition of the Toolkit. We are going to be talking about the top 5 ways to use IT assessments for fun and, most importantly, profit. And since I think for all of us closing new sales is something that is very fun, I think we can say it's fun as well. So we're going to be hearing from the guys at Rapid Fire Tools. You have Mark Winter, who's the VP of Sales, on the webinar. He's going to be our presenter, along with Kevin Jones, who is their sales engineer. I've also got a longtime client on the phone, Bob Coppage, owner of Simplex-IT. He's in the sort of Cleveland, Ohio area, and he's been very successful in using audits to close more sales. And I just want you guys to know that Rapid Fire Tools has been a very good sponsor of ours for quite some time. I'd even call them a partner, really. They come to all of our Producers Club meetings, or many of them. I think I know they've come to several. I know that many of my clients use them to do the network audit, network assessment, as a means for assessing, of course, a new prospect's environment and using the information found to close sales. And I know it's a big question a lot of you have, is how do you do these audits or assessments, whatever you want to call them, health check, to, how much information do you give the client? What tools do you use? And so that's what these guys are going to be talking about. So I'm very excited to have them here today, and I would encourage all of you to ask as many questions as you can. Please use the question area or the chat. I'll be monitoring it as well, so if you have questions for me, I, of course, will be here. But these guys are really, really great at what they do, and you're in good hands. So with that said, Mark, I'm going to let you go ahead and start imparting your wisdom.
Thanks so much, Robin. Yeah, we're thrilled to be here and working with you, and absolutely, we definitely consider working with you a true partnership, and love being at your events and talking with everybody. And Bob, thanks again for joining us today as a mutual customer of both of ours. So just very quickly, what we're going to talk today about, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the top 5 ways that that we're told people like you, the service providers, use IT assessments in your business. And then we're going to have Bob Coppage join us. He's got a great presentation for you, some real down-to-earth information. Then we're going to do just a little bit about Network Detective, which is our automated IT assessment tool. And that tool now has 4 modules, and I'll get more into that a little bit later on, but there's one for performing general network assessments, one that goes a little deeper into IT security, and then some specific modules and reports for Microsoft Exchange as well as Microsoft SQL Server. And then I do want to, I'll let you know that there is a special deal that we have available just for people attending this on a very short leash and a longer-term deal as well. So, again, my name is Mark Winter. I'm VP Sales for Rapid Fire Tools. People do ask me time to time a little bit about our company. We were founded in 1997. We were actually a managed service provider to large organizations, different than what MSPs are today. But we were a Microsoft Gold ISV partner, developed some of our own software and our monitoring platform, and then later really focused our efforts on developing and marketing tools specifically for the IT service provider community, which of course includes the Rapid Fire Tool Suite and Network Detective. So A little bit about IT assessments. As service providers, we all do them, or really should be doing them. And there's a ton of really good reasons for offering IT assessments to your prospects and customers. These could be, everything from general network and system level, and like I said, to deeper security, exchange, or even SQL. And when we speak with people in the community, the top uses of assessments range from, everything from lead generation to pre-engagement checks and onboarding, all the way down to regular use at all of their customer sites for the quarterly business reviews or whatever regularity you do that. So I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes to touch on each of these. So when we're at trade shows, speaking with folks on the phone, one of the key things that, and it's no surprise, a key area of focus is that you guys are all looking to grow your business by adding customers. So how do you do that? Well, I mean, you're here with Robin Robbins, obviously, so marketing and lead generation, of course. So along with good tactics, a good list, powerful copy, you really do need a compelling offer or call to action. Something that's going to get that prospect to raise their hand and say, sure, I'm up for a sales call, come on over. So let me ask you, have you ever Googled your competition? One of the things that you'll notice is that a lot of them offer free network audits or free network assessments. And how obvious is that? I mean, is there a better way to entice a prospect? You're offering a free, valuable service to them, while at the same time, you're getting a chance to look under the hood and see what's wrong in that network so that you can highlight those issues and sell against it. And if you think about it, ultimately, you would need to do some level of, assessment of the network anyway in order to quote the opportunity. So it's really just too perfect. And now also do think about now's really a great time to also perhaps offer a free XP migration audit as part of your lead generation. So performing assessments can be very time consuming and costly unless you've got the right tools.
Hey,
the right tools that yes, Rob.
Can I just jump in? You just said something that's really key about the XP. Sort of doing an XP migration. XP is really hot right now. I'm continually getting emails almost on a daily basis from clients that are going in and saying XP is going to die, obviously, and I think Office 2003 and so forth, and they are getting tons and tons of response from that. So just FYI, guys, if you're not doing an XP assessment, you're missing out on some huge market opportunities. I think it might slow down a little at the end of this year, but you better be ready to go in January, February. So anyway, just wanted to underscore that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Robin. You're absolutely right. But as I was saying, right, these assessments can really be very time-consuming and costly unless you've got the right tools. We think the right tools really should be non-invasive and leave nothing behind. Think about it. If you're prospecting and they're looking for an outsourced IT, they've already got somebody doing that work for them, and they're probably not going to want you to tip them off that they might be looking around. And it should be automated so that you can kind of kick off what we call data collection, let that run while you've got a chance to meet with the business owners, discuss their business challenges, find out how IT is used, what problems they're having, of course, build rapport, which is what selling's all about. Then, of course, any data collection really should be fast and problem-free. It should make you look professional and organized. Ideally, finishing up in about the same amount of time that your sales meeting is going to go, so 30 to 60 minutes. That way it's done when you're ready to leave. And the end result should be reports that present the information in a very professional, well-organized manner. And they also need to be fully brandable. Your logo, your company branding, but of course, with your client's name from you to your customer. And of course, what you're looking for then is a way to show that their IT is not being handled perhaps in as well as it could be. Look for poor configurations, internal or external security risks, etc. But if you are offering a free assessment or a discounted assessment, one of the things that you want to do, you need a leave behind that goes along with your proposal that provides good value, leaves a great impression of you and the work you've done, but doesn't give away all the details so that they or another IT company can leverage what you provided them. So whether or not you're using assessments as lead generation, and I really think you should, let's say you're ready to build your proposal for onboarding a new client for block time or fully managed services. you really are going to need to do an assessment at this point, because unless you're looking for trouble, you can't really provide a good quotation to a prospect unless you know the technical makeup of the current network and systems. You need to know what you're going to be supporting. How many workstations are active on that network? What type of applications are they running? What's the makeup of the PCs? Are they new? Are they old? What operating system? Is there a bunch of XP out there that needs to be migrated? They can expect you to do that for free as part of your managed services offering. How much RAM are they able to actually be migrated? So all this is going to give you an idea of the types of issues you're likely to encounter and how needy that organization might be. Factors that you need to know when you're building your proposal. And of course, how many servers, printers, network devices. And then think about Active Directory. A lot more to grasp there. Is it set up properly? Is it well maintained? Is it a mess? Is it too simple for the organization or overly complex? What are you inheriting here? And then how secure is the network from the outside or from the inside? So performing a detailed assessment really is a necessary component of building your quotation, and then of course building the plan to onboard them. And then if SQL or Exchange are part of the mix, you definitely want to include a scan of that as well to see how it's set up and being used in that environment. And perhaps you're also doing an Exchange migration or going to propose that. You really do need a deep level of understanding that a good tool can provide. Okay, so using assessments when onboarding is obvious. You definitely want to make sure you have a baseline snapshot of the new customer's network and system configuration before you bring them on, since you do need to know everything about their environment and communicate that to your help desk. Similar to what I just went over in the pre-engagement assessment. You need to know about all the assets you're going to be supporting, right? What they are, their age, the software, what's an Active Directory, who's an administrator, all that stuff. And this is going to be true whether or not you're going to be setting up monitoring on that network. And most of you are probably using a PSA or ticketing system like Autotask or ConnectWise. So now you got to get the information into that as well. And ideally, you want to be able to take the information from your network assessment tool and pre-populate your PSA with the information from the client system. And there's direct import from our tool to ConnectWise and Autotask. And also, as Kevin will show you in a little bit, there's an Excel report where you can save information to CSV and import it into others. So performing IT assessments, whether you're doing these at prospects or existing customer sites, is often going to turn up the opportunity for new projects. Examples include identifying systems near capacity or old machines nearing end of life, like XP, and those turn into then prospective upgrade or migration projects. Or you might find Active Directory cleanup and propose that to fix things like group membership, or finding ex-employees with logins still active. I spoke with one of our customers not long ago. They ran a report against a large network, happened to have been a school system. And they found over 700 old accounts with logins still active on that network. So any of those students could log in and create havoc. Huge security risk. And something their on-site team is really supposed to have handled. So that, of course, led to a very nice project for them, cleaning that up, and ongoing work. You might also look to identify inconsistent security policies across the network, or look for holes in security practices that need to be put in place. And then, of course, you've got Exchange migrations as a project, whether that's to Exchange 2010, 2012, or the cloud, a great opportunity for you. And having the documentation of the current environment helps you scope the project better. You get the information that you need on the mailboxes, distribution lists, mobile device use, and more. And you don't want to just do a blind migration. You want to have the information there and go through the distribution lists with your prospect or customer. Are the distribution lists correct? Don't go creating lists with bad data just to clean them up later. And then, of course, the reports from the assessments do more than just help you find the potential projects. They really help you document the issue that you can then show to the customer. And they become then a sales tool to help you sell that project to your client and justify the costs. And, consider running it afterwards as well. Right? Show that you're done with the project. You've got now the documentation on the updated environment, and that'll help you show your client that you finished the work, help you get paid faster. And this is important too. I'd say when I speak with people at the Robin Robbins events, we've got a lot of clients there. One of the things they tell me time and time again, they use this to audit themselves. So I would, if you're not already doing it, I would encourage you to provide a regular health check for all of your customers. Make that part of your technology or your quarterly business reviews. Definitely is going to add value to the client relationship you have. And it's often something you might be able to charge extra for. From a general perspective, make sure that you're not supporting systems that might have been added to the network without your knowledge and probably not even getting paid to support. So uncover issues that need fixing and identify and document areas where you can sell new projects that you can then discuss during your quarterly business review, just kind of what I just talked about on the last slide. And if you're not already doing this, think about adding a security assessment. It's something you most likely will be able to charge more for because it's probably out of the scope of your current contracts with your customer. Consider this, your clients' networks, and indeed their business are constantly at risk. And, I'm sure I don't need to convince you that, viruses, spyware, malware, worms are all a very real threat to your client's network and business. And even the best antivirus and malware protection isn't perfect 100% of the time. So, if there's a problem, a single user can be down for hours. If it spreads through the network, the results can be even worse. So by performing regular security health checks, and this is something that, I'm told people are charging $199, $299 a quarter for. So this is something you can add as sort of a managed security assessment or a managed security service. You really can help your clients protect their assets, guard against downtime, help them sleep better at night. And the key here is doing it regularly. So, running it one time is just the first step. You want to really do this on a regular basis because threats do change. You're also probably responsible for your client's email. When was the last time that you really examined the setup of their Exchange environment? Nothing worse than getting a irate call from the CEO because their email quit working, probably just because they reached quota. So there's a lot of things that you can learn and gather by doing Exchange reviews. Same thing with SQL Server routine health check. You'll see a little bit more about that from what Kevin says. This is something, if it's germane to your business, the ability to very quickly scan and get information on SQL Server and have a routine health check report that you can provide on a regular basis to your customers really elevates you from just an IT guy into the application level as well. So there's a lot that you can do, and all of this really does add value, gives you the tools to sit down face-to-face with your customers, show them that you are taking care of their network on a regular basis. Because as MSPs, when we forget to do that step, it's so often, people do start looking for, other providers because they're not aware of all the good work you're doing for them. So let me switch gears very quickly and talk a little bit about Network Detective. Network Detective is specifically designed so that you can run what we call a data collector on your prospect or client network without installing any software. And that's key. That way it's completely non-invasive in a prospecting situation. No registry changes, nothing's installed. It works very quickly. Scans can run in as little as 30 to 45 minutes for smaller networks. The data collector gathers the data, creates an output file you bring back to your office. You import it into our Network Detective application, and that's where you set up your branding, save your default settings, and once you import the data, set up the client info and generate the reports. It's really a click of a button. I'll show you that in a second. And really, it's easy to do. I talk with technically savvy salespeople all the time who go on site, run the data collector during their introductory meeting. So they're able to go on site a lot of times without an engineer. It saves a lot of time for the MSP. It gathers the data while they're going through their interview, generating rapport with the prospect, and doing what they need to do in that sell. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Bob Coppage, CEO, owner of Simplex-IT, and a mutual customer of ours. Bob, are you there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mark, and Robin as well. I appreciate the opportunity to talk. First of all, I should probably identify I'm actually the picture on the left, not the picture on the right. I'm sure there was some confusion about that. So, a little bit about us. Real simple. Whoops, one, I can't do a PowerPoint. We've been around for about 6 years or so. We are a managed service provider from the get-go, so we're not a break fix or project group that then migrated over to managed service. We were set up that way to start with. Blah, blah, blah. This gives all the metrics as far as the size and all that good fun stuff goes. one of the key things that I want to talk about here regarding our experience with the whole tool suite, which I truly can't do PowerPoints, is that 2/3 of our customers, and right now we're about 50 companies that we have some kind of recurring revenue agreement, whether it's monitoring only all the way up to all you can eat. 2/3 of them have come to us not because of a technical challenge or issue that they had, but because they had a poor relationship with whoever their status quo was, whether that be an internal source or a third party that was doing their service. And that was whether it be poor communication, poor delivery of the services. There just was not that relationship. And so one of the key things that we do, top to bottom, A to Z, all points across it, is we talk about the relationship. We manage the relationship, and we want to show and demonstrate that we're not like the other guys. And we've been fairly successful with that. And, you know, we do monthly luncheonars. We've been doing those for 5 years. We do a newsletter, none of which is selling, which is basically us sharing information. And that's one of the key things is, from an IT perspective, a lot of us get buried in data. Data is absolutely useless, especially when you're talking to potential clients. A lot of the tools that are out there will just give you total dumps of event logs, of WMI metrics, of numbers and buzzwords and three-letter acronyms and all that kind of stuff. Well, business owners don't care. The business owners are the people, the decision makers that we're talking to, the non-IT people. They basically want their stuff to work. They want to know that it is healthy, that it is working. So we have to take that data and turn that into information. Information has value. Data doesn't. And one of the things that we absolutely love from the network detective standpoint, God, it sounds like freaking infomercial, which, okay, but is the fact that they do that in a very standardized way. So we can look at, and we actually had a situation earlier this week with exactly the same thing. There was a small manufacturing company where there was a non-IT person who was responsible for IT. We were able to show them that look at all the former employees that can still get access to your network with very, very little investment on our time, on our part, because we simply used the tool. And it did so, it communicated it to the potential client in a very clear, concise manner with a pie chart, with a visual, here's good, here's bad, any questions. So we're able to take a lot of those convoluted, geekoid types of questions or types of situations and automatically put that into a format that's deliverable, that communicates information. And especially when we're talking to potential clients that, you know, are coming off that bad romance with the former MSP, they never told us anything. They never shared information. They never did this. Well, here's 10 pages of reports we'd like to go over with you with this information. We're already showing we're the good guys, okay? And the nice thing is that there are clients who have special situations, whether it be special applications, vertical apps, you know, whatever, that we truly do need to take a look at when we're doing an assessment. This frees our time up with the simple stuff so that we can actually make the investment where it actually counts, where that customer actually needs some help. So this works very, very nicely, and the fact that it's non-invasive. You know, do no harm. We're going to come in, we're going to gather information, we're going to gather data, and then we're going to convert that to information so that you can use it. It's very, very compelling. And from a salesperson standpoint, our salesmen can actually deal with the product because they know, you know, it's the same reports. So once we've gone through that learning curve, they can move on. What this has allowed us to do is to essentially come up with kind of a triage program. When we get a potential lead, we can, with a couple of questions, basically just size questions. Okay, which category do they run into? Do they run into a low level, which is, you know, a server and a couple workstations? We can do that. We don't really need to do much of an evaluation at all. We're comfortable enough with a few questions, and no problem. If they're a mid-level, okay, we want to actually do the on-site evaluation. We want to go through, and we'll run the network detective, will generate the reports. If they're a high level, and this is, from our perspective here, this is an arbitrary number. You decide where the value is. We actually want to then put in an RMM. We're a Level Platforms partner. We'll put in the RMM so we can just do that with the server. We don't have to touch the desktop there either. And we'll do that for a week or so. Then we can come back with the snapshot basis, where we could say, here's the snapshot, here are the reports, the information we have about your network. And then here's the day-to-day operational information we can give you. So we're giving you kind of a strategic look at first, and then a tactical day-to-day operational look. And we can share both of those pieces of information with our clients. That means that within a few minutes conversation, we know which of these three categories a potential client's going to come into. Our office manager can immediately say, here are the resources we're going to need, here's everybody's calendar, we're going to do it. And so on. The salesperson can contact and talk with the potential client and say, here, we're going to need 3 appointments or 2 appointments or just 1 appointment. Let's set them up in the calendar, make sure we've got the decision makers in place, and we can give you value. Okay, so it's a very streamlined method of dealing with an issue that, again, I cannot stress enough. We're actually passing on information that is usable in a manner that's going to be usable to business owners, which really is, we differentiate against our competition, which is absolutely critical. Okay? What do we run? We run everything. Why? Why the heck not? So we have all of that information that's available to us. But then we take a look at the reports, and we'll decide which reports are going to be the most valuable based on what we see. And I want to be real clear here now. We do not go in saying, we're trying to scare the bejeebers out of them, because they probably get that from the other guys. But what we can do is we can use that information to say, here's the risk. Here's why you should care. Here's why you shouldn't care. You've got an XP machine. That XP machine is in the front office. It's collecting email. It's web browsing. Ooh, boy, you're going to be in trouble. That XP machine is out on the shop floor. It's connected to a piece of equipment that would cost $40,000 to upgrade, and it doesn't do email. It doesn't collect anything. We're going to be okay, but we need to watch it a little bit. Okay? We can decide based on the information that we get. And then we don't hold back. We don't hold back, and the reason being, again, we want to differentiate. We want to be the guys. We share our information. And we literally tell them, if you're talking to other companies, if you want to share that information with the competition, it's okay for you to do this, but I ask you to consider this one question. Why can't they get this information on their own? Or why aren't they offering to get this information for you on their own? Because we're not selling that information. We're selling our services. We're selling our relationship to help them move forward. Okay, and again, I want to be clear, that's our mindset. Okay. Show them, don't sell them. I still can't do a PowerPoint. I got up there and downgrade my resume.
You're kicking butt with the assessments, just the PowerPoints get you, right?
There you go. I could do one or the other. It's not both.
That's all right. You're doing great.
I was so good with PowerPoint 2003. They're taking it away. This is actually a true picture of a client who had a raised computer floor, and when we pulled off a couple of tiles, this was what was underneath. And what this doesn't show is that there was zero airflow underneath the floor, because this was stuck, and they had no idea what any of the wires were for, what any of the cables were for. They were drawing power, and there was communication lights, LEDs going off. And the previous IT support folks had never communicated to them that any of this stuff even existed. And their network was exactly the same way.
Bob, is this a real picture?
This is a real picture.
Okay, yeah.
Okay?
Awesome.
And it's been great, because we were able to show the management when they said, wow, why is it going to be so difficult to fix everything? We were able to show them this picture and said, this is your network. This is just the physical representation of it. But that picture, that visual, that graphic, it was like, okay, we understand now. And for us to be able to do the same thing, where we can represent, instead of, let me show you a list of users who haven't logged on in 36 days. No, let me show you a chart which gives you a breakdown of the numbers. If you want the list, I can get you the list. Or we can, in addition to that. But that picture is worth 1,000 words. So we're giving them a clearly defined narrative. Here's our delivery to you. Here is your scenario. We're going to communicate this effectively and efficiently to you without speaking down to you, without using TLAs, without using geek speak. We're going to communicate to you, and then we're going to offer a path out of it. But it's going to be a clear-cut path. And if you want more information, we will get you more information. If you want to just trust us, but we'll show you in a week or a month or whatever how much we've improved, we'll be able to do this because this is your copy.
Hey, Bob,
Okay.
a quick question that just came in. There's some other questions that have come in. I'm going to let Mark address the other ones. But Jay is saying this seems great for server-based networks, but a lot of clients are on work groups. Have you ever done this with a work group, or how do you handle that?
We have not done it on a work group, but what would happen, and I'm sure Mark and company will be going into this later, you have to run the collector on each workstation, and then you're good to go. You just get the same reports, the same information.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
Yeah,
similarly, go ahead.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Bob. So you would run a network scan from any of the workstations that are on that network, and then run, like Bob said, what we call a local collection. That data gets merged, so it's not like you've got to merge the data. It simply gets merged together, and you get all the information in the same set of reports. Just would not have any information on Active Directory, of course.
As a side note, you can also do that in a similar situation where there are critical devices, Windows workstations or servers, that aren't communicating because of either WMI or firewall. You can run the same data collector on theirs, and it'll add to the report. So there's multiple ways to get around these things. Okay, cool. And they've added, the Office 365. So even if they're cloud-based on the email, you can still use this tool to pull the data. Okay, cool. Okay, and part of the challenge is that every MSP or every service provider is going to sit across the table from that potential client and go, trust us. We're going to take care of you. We care about service. We care about quality, blah, blah, blah. No one is going to sit across and go, we really hope to pay us a lot of money and we don't have to do much because that was really cool. So how do you differentiate yourself? And providing the value. One of the two things we always listen for when we talk to potential clients, especially the higher up the food chain they are, is one thing they say, it shouldn't be this hard when they're talking about their IT. And the second is, it should just work. When we hear those two statements, that tells us they want us, they need us, because they're looking for someone to make that aspect of their organization easier, which is what we're all about. Yes, only one slide. Again, I want to kind of like summarize up this aspect of it. 2/3, you should know, as an MSP, you should know why people want to talk to you. Not only how or why they selected you, which is of course important, but also what drove them to that point in the first place. And like I say, in our area, a lot of it, majority of it has to do with they just had a bad experience with the other guys. And it's kind of like, the breakup. We don't want to be the rebound MSP. Okay, we want to be the one who actually has that relationship, and they sit back and they like us and they move forward. And I will tell you, and Robin, I hate to admit this kind of goes against some of your recommendations. We have a 30-day out contract. Okay, which is a great communicator with us when we're talking to these guys, saying, "Hey, look, if it doesn't work out, we're going to let you go." And
actually isn't against. That's not really even against my recommendations. It's
okay.
That's a whole other discussion. But I don't disagree with that entirely. It depends on strategy behind it. But the reality is, if a client wants out, they can get out. One way or the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the fun part is that well over about 2/3 of the clients who have left us have come back. Okay, and the ones that didn't come back, honestly, half of those we fired them, not the other way around. But that's a side point. So we want to position ourselves with that we're different. We actually are going to talk with you. We actually, when we show up, we're not here to sell you something. we're here to partner. And to be able to add something in our initial offering that immediately adds value is incredibly compelling, especially when there is not a huge amount of time on our part to do that. Okay? And this is kind of freaky. It almost doesn't matter what the report's on. What I mean by that is that it's the relationship building. The fact that we find, if we find stuff that is absolutely healthy, we're going to come back and say, you know, actually things are pretty healthy. Look at this information. You know. And the other points you can kind of see in that aspect. So give us the insights, okay? We know low-hanging fruit. We know the risks that are, you know, the more obvious ones. We know that out of the way, right, out of the gate. Opportunities. We still have, actually this year, we have seen an incredible increase in project work. And what we do is as part of the project work, and this is, you know, a lot of Hyper-V and 2012 and all that kind of fun stuff, is we include a month's worth of monitoring, and we do the network detective, and we tell them we're not going to charge anything for this. We just want to make sure everything's going to be okay. And by the way, here are the results, and you're welcome to look at it and take a look and enjoy. And so far, in 2/3 of those instances, we've at least walked away with monitoring. Because we were monitoring the new servers, but oh, by the way, we just noticed that your Active Directory is kind of corrupt. You might want to have somebody take a look at that. Okay? A couple things we're actually getting into now, because it's evolving. And we're actually a little bit on the weird, well, on the weird side in many ways, not the least of which is my lack of PowerPoint skills. But we actually have a couple of clients where we are SQL MSPs, where they already have IT departments, but we handle their SQL clusters, high availability, replication models, all that kind of fun stuff. And we feel that there's a great market out there for SQL, specifically SQL MSP. And the new module, which I think Merkel or these guys will talk about in a little more detail, really, this is going to be cool. I just got my hands on it earlier this week. So we're going to do our first assessments over the weekend. But part of what we're looking to do is we're looking to actually have that annual review. So we make sure in the month of December that we go out and we have pretty cool tchotchkes, but we do giveaways for our clients, and we visit them in late November and December, and we're talking about actually putting together a thumb drive that has their network detective reports on it. You know, haven't quite decided if we're going to do that or not, or how we're going to do that, but you know, so not only is it great as far as the assessment goes, but it's also great as far as deltas, what you can see. And I would also say that it's kind of like with antivirus, no antivirus product. I think, Mark, you were saying this, no antivirus product actually protects against everything. No RMM tool is going to report every specific aspect of it either. And most RMM tools actually don't do great as far as what I would call business owner presentations, which this does well. So it's just another tool in the tool belt to do that. And I think that might have been my stuff.
Fantastic. Excellent presentation, Bob. You're a natural.
Whee!
So, you know, you were mentioning, and this dovetails nicely into this next slide, and this is really important because I'm often asked, why would I need a tool like Network Detective if I've got level platforms or Kaseya or Enable or some other monitoring system? So, you know, sure, you can install a bunch of licenses or even put a probe out there for a week or two. And sometimes it makes sense to do that. But what does that cost in terms of, you know, your license cost, let alone the time and effort? And if you don't win the deal and you've got agents installed, you've got to go back, uninstall those to reclaim your licenses, and of course get that stuff off the network. But, you know, also what happens when in a prospecting situation something goes wrong? You know, seriously, if you go in and install software or put a probe on a network, something goes wrong later that day or the next day, who are they going to blame? Themselves? The current IT provider? No, you're the last one in there. they're likely to blame you, you're going to get that opportunity to maybe go fix that problem for free. As I said earlier, Network Detective, and Bob said this too, Network Detective is completely non-invasive. You run the data collector without installing anything. You can even run it from a USB drive. You bring the data file back and generate the reports. You know, like Bob said, on the flip side, Network Detective is not going to get you performance-based metrics and statistics. You know, your monitoring system, especially agent-based systems like, you know, Kaseya or Enable, it can be running for weeks or longer and really should be providing detailed performance reports. But that's normally not necessary or appropriate in most cases for prospecting. And, you know, as Bob alluded to, there's still a really good reason to run Network Detective on your existing clients where you do have monitoring running. That's typically because monitoring programs don't perform any real ongoing analysis or reporting of Active Directory, nor do they do external vulnerability scans or regularly look for open ports on an IP scan across the network, looking for potential security holes. Nor do they provide professional level documentation on things like network shares, who has access to what, and security policies. And none that I'm aware of do a deep dive into the Exchange environment, let alone doing regular documentation sort of on the routine health of your client's SQL servers. And Network Detective, using that regularly, is going to do all that for you. And there's also a change report, which you'll see in a little bit, where you can quickly identify systems that you might not be charging for in your managed services, something that during your quarterly review you can kind of sit down and do the true up. So let me just very quickly take you through how easy this is to use, how it works. At a high level, there's just a few steps. If you're going to run what we call the external vulnerability scan, looking for potential open ports and problems, you know, from the firewall at your client site, you initiate that ahead of time so that that data is collected and run when you're ready to run the reports the next day or 2 days later. So you could do that ahead of time. Now you're on site at the client. Step 2, from the domain controller, you're going to run the network scan. If it's a workgroup environment, run the network scan from any PC. Completely wizard driven. If you are in a workgroup environment or need to run any local captures, or if you're doing the security scans as well, you're going to do a local scan from a few other machines or the needed machines. It takes, I don't know, 30, 45 seconds to do that each. When you're done, you bring the data file back from your network scan and any local scans, and you import those into the product and generate the reports. So let me show you what this looks like. Again, all wizard driven. From inside the Network Detective application, you click Initiate an External Vulnerability Scan. You give it the IP address ranges you want, give it a name, and off it goes, does its thing. Depending upon how busy the servers are, this could be ready in a few hours or, you know, the next day. At your client site, running the data collector. Choose the scans you want. Network and security are selected here. Make sure you have the admin credential, or you can enter them here. Choose the local domains. If you're in a large environment, you can get specific. Usually you just click Next. We'll do a whois and MX record query. So enter your customer's domains. We'll pull that information for you. Verify the IP range that you want to scan. If the customer has remote sites, you can enter those IP addresses here as well. We'll scan those too. We'll use SNMP, Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer, do some user control tests. At this point, you can do the protocol availability scan ahead of time or just click Start to get it going. This takes typically, on let's say a 5-server, 50-60 node workstation on a 255 IP network, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes or so. So it's very fast. One other thing you can do, and by the way, Robin, this kind of concept came out of talking to a lot of folks at producers a time or two in a row, folks who have been using the product. They said, you know what, we've got our own checklists, and there's other information we'd like to get into your stuff. And I said, like what? And he goes, you know, stuff that data collectors can't gather. And those would be things like, you know, what does the server room look like? What's the status? Are the servers in a rack or are they on the floor? Is it temperature and humidity controlled? We'd like to import some pictures into this. And so the way it works is there's a built-in interview template. You can customize ours. You can use it out from scratch, or you can actually build your own from scratch, whatever you'd like to do. You print that out, take it on site. So answer these questions ahead of time, you as the owners of of your business can actually specify the instructions for you, what you want your salespeople or your techs to gather while they're out there. When you come back, you import that into the tool, and then there's two reports that come out of this. One is the response report, which can include pictures. It includes things like what are the line of business apps that you would put into here, what are the BYOD policy, if they even have one. You can also characterize things as a strength, weakness, opportunity, or threat. And then we'll automatically generate a SWOT report as well. So again, this lifts you from just being an IT guy to more of a business level or applications level consultant to the organization, as well as IT. Very powerful set of reports that go along with automatic data collection. So you're back, you import the data. Now you're going to put in the customer's name, report prepared for. You've got the other information in, or you can customize it here as well. Bring in your logo. That'll be on the cover page of all the reports. Bring in your header logo that goes on every page of the report, so it's completely branded for you, and again has your customer's information also. We have a number of layouts that you can choose from, so you can customize the look and feel of each of the cover pages, and also pick from any of our predefined color palettes, or create your own custom defined colors so they fit with your branding, your logos, the way you want them to look. And then we do have a bunch of ready-to-find images that can also be used on the cover page of the report, industry-specific like automotive, retail, legal, hospitality. You can use any of our other generic ones, or even upload any of your own custom images. So completely customizable, fully white-labeled from you to your customers. Click Start, generates the reports. This takes a few minutes based on the amount of data, and you're done. A couple of other things that you're able to do too. So if you're a ConnectWise or Autotask user, you can actually create contacts from the Exchange scan into ConnectWise or Autotask. Create the company first, so just identify which company that's going to go to, and then we'll output that information and auto-create those contacts for you. Save you a lot of time, a lot of headache, and eliminate miskeying. Additionally, we can export configurations. So choose how you want to map computers to what configuration type, how you want to map the servers or non-active directory devices, etc. And then we will create those configurations for you as well, really speed things up. Finally, and this is brand new, this gives you the ability to create tickets from the issues section of the report. So you can have a single ticket created with the selected issues that you want to have somebody work on, or you could have it create multiple tickets, one for each issue you're outputting. That way, issues found by Network Detective can turn into work tasks that are trackable by you. So at this point, let me turn this over to Kevin Jones, our sales engineer. He's going to kind of go through how you can turn some of these reports into revenue, what to look for, and how you would use it. Kevin, you there?
I am here. Thank you, Mark. So I'm not sure if you're going to be sharing the power on my way to host it locally, or if you want me to. There we go.
I'm going to make you presenter, sir.
Well, thank you very much. How's that looking on everybody's end?
I can see it, I think.
I can see it as well.
By the way, Mark and Kevin, can you guys see the questions? There's some questions that have come in that I think only you guys can answer. Mark, can you want to go ahead and make sure? I just want to make sure you can see them. No, go ahead. No, I'm going to let you drive unless you. But I just want to make sure you guys can see those questions and you can address them.
I've got just a couple on my end, Mark. Not sure if you've got any others on your end you wanted to sort through and answer, or you want to maybe compile those at the end.
Well, Rob, you want me to answer some of these now, or hold them?
Whatever. As long as I just want to make sure you see them, and just let people know that we see them and you will answer them.
Yeah,
I guess that's the main thing. Okay.
Right. So we'll certainly address these, and I do see them.
Okay. Cool.
Good deal. So, again, Mark kind of walked us through the overall process of collecting, the data. Now it's a matter of, okay, what do we want to do with it? And you essentially break it down into two levels. You have means to leverage the reports from, from a prospecting perspective as far as acquiring the business, And then also, once they are a customer, it's a matter of how do we leverage the reports to keep them a happy customer. So I'll go through some of those scenarios. And, the first two specifically are for, how to go about leveraging the content for for prospecting and lead generation, and also for pre-engagement activities where you actually go in and do a detailed findings and attempt to win the business. So once you've completed the scan, okay, you've done the report build on your end, and you start to filter through it. Many items are going to pop up, and it's the shortcomings of the current provider, whether that be in-house or another MSP, they will start to bubble up. And some of these items your client or prospect might be aware of, but some of them they might not. And if there's overall system performance issues coupled with items that come about from the scan out of Network Detective specific to old machines and users and their AD, missing antivirus project or patches, basically the minutiae at the user and the computer level will all bubble up, and they really drive home one point, and that typically is that the current provider is not doing a good enough job. So what we have over here on the right is an example out of our users and patching report. Let me pull this up here. So we see the users. A few columns over, we can see whether or not they are enabled or disabled. And then over on the far right, we can see the notifications in red as far as the last login. So again, this is auto-generated and is available within the numerous reports that you're going to get out of the modules. But what you can then do is, use this data to kind of correlate with, okay, well, how good of a job is the current provider doing? And, again, these are all of the users. And then at the another section, we have kind of a summary at the device level specific to patches, okay? And the neat thing about this section is not only does it show you, what operating system level patches or their issues or might be missing, but we can also report against, more application-specific items, more holistic means in which to communicate what exactly the current state is for this prospect. And again, some might be small, some might be big, but they all essentially add up in the end. So one of the other issues in correlating this content and presenting your findings to the prospect is now you're moving into the territory where you're basically going about, okay, what's the exposure to risk that this prospect is facing based on these issues? I mentioned antiviruses. All those small things basically arise from not properly maintaining a network. The machines can be compromised. The old user accounts can get into the system and access potentially sensitive data. The network might have vulnerabilities from the outside that could cause business downtime. So there are a ton of risks that could be present, and they're going to vary from network to network. But let me click on this one right here, and we'll take a look at some specific to antivirus and vulnerabilities. So, what we have here is the computers themselves on the left-hand side, and it's going to do an audit and basically give you a result set back. And looking here, we can see that the machines across the network, either there might be some antivirus or anti-spyware tools present, there might not be none at all, or there might be just a hodgepodge of various vendors. So, again, what this does is it goes back to, okay, what is the consistency or the lack thereof for properly maintaining a network? And standardization on AV tools is kind of a nice to have if you're coming from a managed service provider. And there might be situations where you might have an RMM tool that comes with a particular AV product, or you might be a reseller that this might present you with another opportunity to get the product in front of the prospect. So, at the end of the day, this content just allows you to paint yourself as a more holistic provider. So, these are some of the risks at the, at the local PC client level. But down in this other section, let's scroll through here. I apologize, my PC doesn't want to respond to me today. So right now we are in what section? More detailed, specific to vulnerabilities for the security assessment. Okay, and again, some of these items might be a big deal, some of them might not. But if we go down here, now here's a very simple graph here. Here are the issues. What's the severity? And the neat thing is, I'm going to come down right here, and it might be something as simple as you've got a port open, Mr. Prospect, that you need to close because it is a high risk. Okay, well, why is it a high risk? Well, items such as this will bubble up within your reporting so that you can speak specific to that item and again, hopefully present yourself as reliable, confident, and more importantly, able to provide the information quickly so that you have an opportunity to come back and win business. And again, there are plenty of other items. We spoke about kind of OS and network layer items, but it could be application specific findings specific to maybe they have applications in there within their environment they don't want. Myriad of items. But eventually, what it's going to lead you to is the final point based on the the current level of service that they're getting from their provider. Again, if it's in-house or external. So the question is, does the current provider know about all these issues? Because they're the ones supposed to be managing the network. And if they don't, well, then they're not capable of doing a quality job. And if they do know about the issues, well, that's scary too, because then they're just willing to do a mediocre job. So either way, once you presented your findings to the prospect, they'll know exactly where they stand and, more importantly, who they can turn to if they decide to choose another MSP. So that's kind of the prospecting angle as far as utilization of the content. Now we're going to flip over and how you can use them for customers, And one of the first ways that you can use it is obviously for the onboarding of the customer itself. Mark had touched on a little earlier with the integration points that we have with Autotask and ConnectWise. So the report outputs that we have, and there are application layer integrations so that you can speed up the rather tedious, hand jam related tasks of populating content, contacts, or issues, or tickets, or configuration items, or if you don't happen to use those particular applications, and click on this Excel breakdown. And what we're going to see here, this is all of the content that's available to you in the Word documents. The majority of the reporting output is in a Word document format, but it's all built on the data that you will find here in Excel. So everything within the reports is going to be dumped out here. Then, if you so choose, you can use this to create your own custom charts and graphs, or if you want to do something along the lines of doing a an automated script to populate users, etc. The data's here. You can use it however you see fit. So next way, okay, customers onboarded, they're operating. Now how do we go about peeling the onion back a little bit more, discovering and selling for more projects, okay? So plenty of projects out there you can find. Obviously, it depends on what your service of focus is. You know, again, patch management, security-related content filtering. Let's take, for instance, an Exchange. You know, we had talked a little bit earlier in this dialogue specific to Windows XP opportunities out there. Yes, Windows XP is going out of support, but also another opportunity out there in the marketplace is specific to another product that's going out of support for Microsoft, and that's Exchange 2003. There's a great opportunity out there because a lot of organizations are still sitting on 2003 because A, it's cheap, B, it works, and C, if they go anywhere else beyond and above the Exchange platform of 2003, they have to upgrade their hardware to 64-bit. A lot of folks just don't want to do that, so they've been sitting on 2003. Well, now they have to move, okay? Okay, so you have options. They're either going to upgrade the box to the latest and greatest version of Exchange, or perhaps they want to go to the cloud and utilize it for Office 365. So what we'll do here is open up a detailed report for Exchange. And what we see here is a breakdown per mailbox, okay? And the level of detail you can get specific to the security policies for this particular user, the distribution list, the quotas, etc. Everything is found within here, okay? Now, why is this important is that, let's say, going back to the decision that your customer's trying to make. Okay, well, do I upgrade to the latest and greatest version of the application in-house? Do I want to, go to the cloud? It doesn't really matter, because the great thing about this piece is you can utilize the Exchange Assessment module to establish the baseline of where they're at currently within their Exchange environment. Users, security, distribution list, etc. Let's say, okay, well, we want to go to Office 365. Great. You can then go about using this as a roadmap to define the target messaging architecture for Office 365, okay? And then run the scan against that data source. When I mean that, I mean you can run it against Office 365 before they go live, okay? So then you have an apples-to-apples comparison, and you'll be quite certain, both with yourself and also, more importantly, with your customer, that you guys are ready to make the switch prior to go live. So again, it's just another means in which you can utilize the content to both drive awareness of your capabilities in delivering new projects, but also doing it with speed and efficiency. So the last piece is about winning the business, and this goes back to what we talked about as far as routine health checks. Variety of ways, again, you can utilize this content, and again, we're speaking specific to all four modules: the network, the security, the Exchange, and the SQL. The great thing I like about it is it kind of removes that out of sight, out of mind barrier when you go about doing these routine assessments, because if everything's working great, fine, a lot of times if that's the case, then it's very hard for you to have tangible quality discussions unless you have something scheduled so the customer truly knows all the services that you are providing and can't provide, okay? So one example, let's say if you are doing a routine health check, I'm going to open up a share permissions report, okay? And this might not seem like a big deal, but what you can do is utilize this, and what we're looking at here are the various shares within their organization and who has access to it, okay? And you can just simply review all of this. I believe this one was not notated with the delta from a change previous. I'll go into that in the next report. But basically, you can sit down with the owner and say, okay, here's who has access to the content within your organization. Something like good, bad, other. These little things kind of keep you either in the trusted advisor role, because they know you care about their security and their data access policies, or it can help you get to that trusted advisor table. Let me show you another report here. this is the delta I'd spoken of. So one of the challenges when you are doing routine assessments is, again, RMM tools, etc. Plenty of them dump a whole lot of data out, okay, and it's weeding through that minutia that can get a little bit tiresome. Well, right here, let me scroll down a little bit here. What we can see highlighted in yellow automatically is the delta essentially for the last time that you established a baseline on your first, second, third, whatever it was, your last routine assessment. So then you can show very clearly, okay, what are the new users, new computers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So pretty basic, pretty simple stuff. And the last one is, being able to articulate best practices as it applies to their overall organization and also what your service delivery capabilities are. And we'll click on this SQL Server Health Report. Working. There we are. So, back to what Bob said earlier, a lot of times it's a matter of getting at that executive summary quick and easy. Don't talk tech as much as possible, and that's usually what the business owners are all about. And this, again, is the SQL Server Routine Health Assessment. I'm just going to scroll down here real quick. Let's get rid of this right here. So again, this is a quick snapshot of the overall SQL environment that they have. Okay, nice, pretty picture. Here's the overall grading as we see it. Now, what's even better is if we scroll down a little bit more, we can actually see the specifics for the particular databases themselves. So let's say, you could use this in both ways. Let's say you're going in from a prospecting perspective. You might not have a target-focused SQL managed service deliverable in your back pocket just yet, okay? But if you, let's say you're prospecting and you run this scan, go down to one other database, hold on, right here. It's going to bubble up just basic standard best practices as you see on the right-hand side against each database, okay? Again, you might not have a SQL focus, but being able to show this to a prospect and also a customer is, the value kind of states itself. And this is standard stuff. It's a matter of, okay, data and log file placement. They're on the same drive. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. What's the temp DB? It's not isolated on a drive. Okay, those are the issues, and there's your grading. So little stuff like that really means a lot when it comes to, again, keeping you at the trusted advisor table or getting you to it. So I believe with that, I think that I'm going to hand it back over to Mark. Mark, you there?
I am. Thank you very much. Let me take presenter again. Almost there. So terrific stuff, Kevin. I mean, there's so many ways that you can use this to, really retain clients, build new revenue-producing services with SQL Exchange and the security. But let me just kind of quickly summarize things. Now, as you've hopefully seen, Network Detective gives you the ability to run, non-invasive scans on your client and prospect networks quickly and easily. And since the collection is automated, you're not going to accidentally forget to gather key information like you might if you're doing it by hand or with point tools. I think Bob mentioned, it's that consistency that you get. And as you saw with Kevin's information, you can customize and brand the reports with yours and your client's information logos. Everything is completely white labeled. And not sure if we mentioned this, but all of the reports are delivered to you as Word and Excel documents. So they're the native documents, so you can add, edit, embellish reports, do what you need to. And of course, the ability to populate, contacts and configuration items in your PSA. It's going to really save you a lot of time, reduce the chance for errors. And the whole point of this, of course, is to, close more new business and projects with new and existing clients. And as I said earlier, definitely use a security module, of course, to develop and brand a security service. I think you're going to find that the results will be a lot more satisfied, very loyal clients. And I've never spoken to an MSP yet who wasn't looking for a way to increase the retention and stickiness of their customers, while at the same time creating a brand new and affordable recurring revenue stream. I really do think it'll help you find and close more project revenue, whether you're providing managed service or offering that a la carte. So, Network Detective is comprised of, today, 4 different modules. There's the general purpose network assessment module. Then we've got the security, exchange, and SQL. Each module has its own set of reports built into it. And those reports include sort of an executive summary, which we call the client risk report in most of those. And then the rest of the reports are additional detail and additional information that you can use to better understand the network, quote your prospects, and find risks. And we did recently, as we already mentioned, added an XP migration report to the network assessment module so that you can summarize the XP machines out there, identify which ones may or may not be candidates for update, etc. The security module, again, its own set of reports specific to security, everything from the external vulnerability scan, vulnerabilities from inside the network out. People do spend a lot of time focusing on, can people get into the network, and they forget that open ports and protocols that can be set up or used, exploited by spyware, malware, and robots inside the network can also let hackers get in. And then you've got share permission reports and then login success and failure. Terrific information. This is great for both prospecting, goes hand in hand with the network side of things, but also as a terrific set of deliverables and the analysis that you go along with it to put together a regular security managed service. The exchange assessment module, great for documenting what's on a customer's network on a regular basis, and also perfect for documenting both before and after exchange migrations. Everything from the size of the mailbox details, that includes folders like you saw from what Kevin showed you, mobile device use, distribution lists, and more. And our brand new SQL Server Assessment module, this thing is hot. We released this just last week, kind of pre-released it at a trade show we were doing. Began rolling it out to customers just earlier this week, and let me tell you, people, I'm thrilled, and it's terrific the number of people that have picked this up just in the first week. It's excellent for running routinely. It could be quarterly or even monthly. I mean, it's an unlimited use subscription, which I'll talk about in a second, so there's no reason not to use it as often as you like. Great for delivering, and by the way, both for the security and the SQL, you don't really need to be an expert in either one of these to use the information that comes out of this to make intelligent recommendations to your customers. Even if you're not going to do the DBA work, perhaps you've got somebody that'll do the work 1099, and you're able to mark that up but still get the job done under your banner at your customer sites. So, how is Network Detective licensed, and what does it cost? And that particular URL is incorrect. I'll fix that here in just a second. But basically, Network Detective is licensed as an annual subscription, and it's for unlimited use at all of your clients and prospects. And we really do want you to run this as often as you see fit and get the most use that you possibly can out of the software. It's terrific value. A single module, the list price is $9.99 per module, but we have both bundle discounts, so if you buy more than one module at a time, you'll save money. But as attendees of this webinar and part of the group that's Robin's toolkit, we've got 2 specials for you. So I've got a webinar special, and that is going to end next Friday, November 29th, Black Friday. And you'll need to visit that site right there, rapidfiretools.com/1311B29RR. Either put the B and RR all in upper or all in lowercase. Either one will work. Don't mix them because I don't think that works. Anyway, visit that site through November 29th. You'll get some terrific webinar special discounts. But for anybody who can act quickly, we've got an extra special discount Will save me a little bit of time, save my team a little bit of time in follow-up. If you are wanting to get in on this, we're going to offer extra special discounts that are going to be available only through midnight tomorrow night. That's November 22nd. Visit that website. Your extra special pricing will be there for you. And all rapid fire tools have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So we want you to feel comfortable buying it, trying it out. If you're not completely satisfied, just let us know. We'll return your money. So at this point, why don't we open this up to Q&A? And I'll leave this URL on the screen for a little while.
Okay. Mark, do you just want to go ahead and pick off the questions?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go through some of the ones, even some of the ones I answered. I did notice a lot of people early on asked whether it was being recorded, and the
yes,
answer.
Yes, it is, and it's being posted. Yeah.
Right. And so we'll also get you, Robin, a copy, a PDF of the slide deck that you can post. I think you mentioned you would do that. But, let me say anybody who also wants to get this immediately before it gets posted, if you'll just send us an email to sales@rapidfiretools.com, put sample reports, put slides or sample reports in the subject line, and I'm happy to send those out. Hey, something else I did want to mention. The reports that Kevin was showing you, those were actually pieces from some actual anonymized data, and we've got sample reports on our website. So all of those reports that I showed you a moment ago, all the reports listed in each module, there are real data sample reports on our website that you can download and review. They are PDF because people don't necessarily trust downloading doc files. I don't blame them. But again, as I said earlier, remember, you get, when you're running this tool, the outputs you get are native Word documents that you can go in, edit, add, do what you want to. So, a couple things. Someone mentioned that sometimes they're obviously a customer and have used the product before. Sometimes computers get missed because they're not remotely accessible by the server. So let me kind of address that.